Hi viewers, welcome back as we cover this election 2015. Once again, my name is Adeola Fayohun, and we're very excited to bring to you another panel discussion about the ongoing election. And I have two able-bodied panelists in here. First of all, Dr. Okome, welcome back to Sahara TV. Thank you for joining us. And also I have Mr. Bukola Oreofe, the Executive Director of NDLF. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Great. So let me start with you, Mr. Oreofe. What have you been hearing so far from people with this election?
Well, what I've heard so far is that there's widespread snatching of ballots, and there are instances where the INEC officials do not show up, and when they do show up, they don't have the materials. And I think in some instances, they also have problems with the card reader. But unfortunately, with the way things are, there are some flashpoint areas where there are problems. Okay. And it appears President Jonathan is really, letting out the goons to be able to get certain things, happen apparently to suit him.
You're talking about rigging,
yeah,
huh?
Yeah, I'm talking about rigging, I'm talking about widespread manipulation, and this is actually happening in Rivers where there's a lot of stake. There's a lot at stake in Rivers.
And, I'm going to come back to Rivers because Rivers has been in the news the whole day. But Professor Okome, do you agree with this? It doesn't look good from what he said. It looks like he's been hearing a lot of not so good news. What have you been hearing from people back home?
I've heard a mix of good and not so good news. And then some bad news. The good is, quite a lot of my friends and family and my Facebook people have voted. But some of them are having problems. The card readers aren't working. INEC officials seem not to be well prepared to handle the challenges. There are instances also of, no accreditation. There are instances of people of wards where attempts are made to accredit people without using the card readers, and voters' displeasure with this. And then there are instances of violence, not really with people I know, but, allegations that are being made.
So let's talk about Rivers State, and I'm glad that you brought it up already. We've been hearing all kinds of news from Rivers State. What have you been hearing?
Well, let's put this in context. About 2 million votes are up for grabs, in Rivers. And this is a state where I would say there's going to be a clash of ego between Governor Rotimi Amechi, who is the DG of the Buhari Osinbajo campaign. And we also have the First Lady
coming from Rivers.
And of course, Rivers also being so close to Bayelsa, where the president also comes from. And there were reports also that the deputy governor did switch over, just
PDP.
about a week. And what I've heard is that for whatever reason, which I think is deliberate, the security agents have been withdrawn. So you actually have the militants who are positioned in these polling units, who are actually providing security
militants.
Militants, from Niger Delta militants. Yeah. I understand that Tom Akete is actually on ground, who is actually providing the security personnel in River State instead of the police officers.
Who are they protecting though?
Well, the reports I heard is that they're working for PDP for the
So
the
protecting
president
the interests of PDP in this.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, I think Governor Amechi did call for the cancellation of elections in that state.
That. Yeah.
And there also, if we step back, even the campaign, in the last couple of weeks and months, have always been very chaotic. People have been killed in Rivers when they actually go out to campaign. So we saw, the prelude to what we're seeing today, that Rivers State is going to be the flashpoint. And unfortunately, what happens in Rivers is going to have like a cascading effect on the south, so to speak. So with 2.0 votes at stake, I'm not surprised why 2 million votes at stake. Yeah. I'm not surprised why there's so much desperation coming out of Rivers.
And you already answered my next question about what's the significance of Rivers State, like why so much heat coming out of Rivers State. But thank you for telling us that. Professor Okome, what have you been hearing from Rivers State?
Well, I think Rivers State is where a a PDP agent was allegedly arrested with forged election results.
Look at the election result, and the election is not even
the
over.
election hadn't happened, and the guy is apparently arrested now. And then
and
their
I think
local
we have a
governments.
picture of that, by the way, on the website. People can check it out.
There are local government areas where you don't have INEC officials, and so accreditation hasn't happened in those places.
Wow.
Also, there were reports in the morning, I think, of some APC supporters shot, and I don't know if those reports have been verified.
Okay.
So it seems like there's violence, there's disorganized, polling, and there is fraud happening in Rivers State. And I guess, both the First Lady probably feels that this is a high stakes election for her because, she probably feels the pressure to deliver. And she has campaigned very vigorously. The APC also has a lot at stake, and I agree with Mr. Oreofe that, this being the home base of the DG for the APC presidential election, this is also high stakes. So I think that is a mix that is likely to be volatile.
Okay.
When people see this as a do or die situation.
Yeah. So, and speaking of Rotimi Amechi, Mr. Oreofe, we spoke with him earlier, and he's actually calling that they should cancel this election. He is saying that they should cancel this election, that it's not been fair. He said PDP officials already have the result in their hands when the election is yet to take place, and he's also saying that a lot of people are not allowed to vote. He said a lot of voters, they are not even tallying their votes and stuff like that. So, what do you think about that? Cancel the election from Rivers State?
Well, he is on ground.
Okay.
And if what he alleges actually turn out to be true, then that might be ground for cancellation, because the election shouldn't only be credible, but should be seen to be credible. Okay. And this election was postponed, the last 6 weeks, and Jega had all this while to also, deliver a good, free, fair, peaceful, credible election, and of course other factors that come with it.
Is that possible though? Can they cancel?
Well, if
would they have to redo it, and how are we sure that this will not happen again, even if they redo it?
Well, it depends on the premium that Jega places on, on the credibility of this election, and if indeed it can confirm that ballot boxes didn't get there, they were snatched, result sheets didn't get there, and they were written somewhere else. Because if it goes ahead, this will be tested in the court, and if those results are rubbish in the court, it's also rubbishes Jega's own standing. So I think it's going to make a lot of sense for him to be able to say, oh, I'm sorry, we screwed up in Rivers. Probably not my fault, but because this and this did happen. Because what we've said about the high stakes, going on in Rivers, if I were to be Jega, that would be a state, for instance, that I would actually make sure I supervise, differently.
There are so many states.
No, I do. But what I'm saying is that.
Can I jump in?
Let me just make a conclusion.
Let him finish.
Okay.
With the 2 million votes at stake, with those factors there, if a state such as Rivers is discredited, and if Buhari loses, that will be the stake of ground to question the entire election. And you don't want that to happen. So I think every state, at the end of the day, we should be able to say, even with Nigerian standard, we did okay in this state. Okay. But if from the beginning, the ballot boxes are not there, the result sheets have been written somewhere, and there are proofs, there are pictures, there are video, and there are things that you can say to validate your allegations. Of course, that would be ground for cancellation.
And you were trying to say that.
Yeah, I think that this is where INEC becomes important, because it's INEC's job to ensure that the elections are run in a free and fair manner, and it's INEC that needs to step up and begin to investigate all these allegations. So people have to have confidence in INEC as an impartial arbiter in the election. Secondly, it's important not only to have the respectability of this election in Rivers State, in my mind, we have to have each and every state treated in the same manner, with the same level of seriousness. And frankly, I agree. INEC has 6 extra weeks to do this right. And so they should have projected that they need some level of extra scrutiny in certain places, including Rivers State. But truth to tell, the Nigerian government, the federal, the police is federal. You don't have state police.
Yeah.
And so the deployment of the forces and stuff like that, I don't know the extent to which the INEC has any control over how those forces are deployed and what they do. Who do they take orders from? What is the kind of instruction that they have in terms of how to do their job right, and so forth. So, this also puts a lot of challenges in the mix that INEC itself cannot maybe forestall. But then INEC needs to be seen to be an impartial arbiter in this, and to investigate every allegation.
Yeah, Professor Okome, I'm glad that you brought this up, because I was just going to ask Mr. Oreofe that I keep wondering how much you can hold INEC responsible in this case, because earlier you said that we have militants out there. Instead of police, now we have militants. And then you said this is the home state of the First Lady, not far from the home state of Mr. President. And for weeks and weeks, the First Lady has been telling us about, how if anybody talks about change, stone them. I'm not saying that she's responsible for anything, but do you think that INEC could have done a successful job in a state like this, where we know that Mr. President and the First Lady have personal interests?
Well, that's a very good question. I know it's a very tough scenario, to have to review, and it's a tough situation for Jega to be in because of, the high stakes. Like the Prof really said, the police is a federal police, so the governor can't even control the police. The deputy governor defected. You can see a lot of shenanigans going on.
When we talk about federal, don't forget, we're talking about the president.
Yeah, we're talking about the president, who is also, a candidate in the election. So there's every reason to work in his favor. There is a lot of limitation for Jega, and I think that actually, was accentuated by the postponement when the security chiefs actually, blackmailed him to say, you can go ahead with this. If you do go ahead, we don't guarantee your safety and the safety of your men, so you have the choice. So and he had no choice than to withdraw. So absolutely was blackmailed. So with that, if you withdraw the security agencies in Rivers and the militants have a field way, Jega has it can help the situation. But what I'm saying is that Jega should be able to know that. No, not really prepare. You see, the thing is this: if you have an election, and as a candidate, you do everything to sabotage or undermine the process, how do you get to be declared as a winner? So if at the end of the day, when the die is cast and Rivers has to be just for us, just to say this now, if Rivers is going to be the last state that will tell us who the victor is, and you screw up in Rivers, bottom line is we have to do it again in that state. So Jega has limitation, but at the end of the day, if the APC says Rivers State was actually tilted in favor of PDP based on the president working to ensure he wins in that state, and they can prove it, on that ground, Jega can say, okay, you have a right, you have the power to use the militants, but I call the shots. I will tell you, I'm sorry, this election is not credible. I'm not going to take this from Rivers.
Even after he can declare
he can say the election is not valid in that state. So at the end of the day, you still have to make sure you comport to his rules.
You're the
so
one in charge.
He has to call the final shot. So I think that's where Jega has the upper hand in this. You go and do what you want to do, but if at the end of the day, if I'm not satisfied with the conduct in this state or in any local government, I will tell you, I'm not accepting this. We have to redo this.
All right, so I need to wrap up. I just want to ask you for one last thought about this.
About the election or River State?
River State election.
Well, the election, I think the candidates in this election have to respect the the optimism of Nigerian people who have been through quite a lot.
Okay.
You know, they've been through economic pain because of the decline.
You don't think it's too late now to preach to the candidates? You don't think they've already put in place they want to put in place?
They have done whatever they want to do. I guess it's daytime in New York.
Yeah.
You know, but I can't help but say that the Nigerian people, I have a great deal of respect for most of them.
Okay.
Because they have tried very hard to make sure that they get their PVCs. Yeah. It took forever for many of them.
So
people have gone to vote. So, the votes of Nigerian people must be respected.
Okay.
INEC, it's not too late for INEC to make sure that it does the job that it is charged to do.
Okay.
And that it does it in a way that inspires confidence.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Any last word? That's it?
Well, I hope at the end of the day, the powers that be would allow the will of Nigerians to, see the light of the day. I'm not too positive. I see the desperation in President Jonathan, and it's indeed a shame that it needed 6 weeks to be able to prove himself by going to Southwest, distributing money and dollars to people. I mean, he has undermined even those sacred institutions, like the obas, even the pastors, the church, virtually everywhere. So it's so unfortunate that we are where we are today, but we only hope at the end of the day,
prayers from every
whosoever wins and whosoever loses, if it's credible, we can move forward. But, it's really gloomy.
Thank you so much, guys. Once again, it's so nice to have you on here. Thank you so much for coming up. And viewers, stay tuned. We'll be right back. We have much more to come.